going to talk about Lisa Frankenstein.
We sure are.
Which we both watched recently, and I think initially we kind of thought about seeing this in theaters, but then we just didn't for whatever reason.
I wasn't dying to.
Yeah, and so there are a lot
Where are we? Say where we are.
We are. We're at 760 Craftworks, plural. We've been here multiple times, I think, for reviews.
Yes.
And it's kind of become a go-to spot, especially now that the weather's nice. We can sit outside, and it's kind of awesome.
Yes. And it's early enough in the day that it's not too busy because, well, you're on spring break.
I'm on spring break, yeah.
I'm not. But
That is not because I'm a student, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yes. You were not on spring break.
I'm not, but I'm still drinking at 2 o'clock on a Friday.
That's totally fine. That's not abnormal at all. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So there were some things that I liked about this movie, but there were also some things that I was not a huge fan of. So, I don't know. I guess we'll start with just generally a plot summary, maybe.
Yes.
Do you want to tackle that?
Well, and so basically, a teenage girl has experienced some trauma. Her mother was axe murdered in front of her, basically, as it happens.
Yeah.
And has now re-entered society in this new blended family. It's in the 80s. Did I say that? I don't remember. And she loves cemeteries.
Yeah.
Because, like, why not? And so kind of has a crush on a dead guy-ish, but also a live guy. And goes to a party and basically gets roofied.
Yeah, I know. That whole part was just super crazy.
And then everyone was like, oh, man, she got drugs.
I don't know if the whole thing was there. Oh, it's the 80s. It's a different time. But still, like, you know,
so she's tripping.
Wild.
She's tripping. Makes some kind of wish about the dead guy, and then lightning strikes, and now he's alive, undead.
And I mean, the way he comes back to life is very Frankenstein.
Yes. And his name is something Frankenstein. I don't even know. Do we know his first name?
I don't know if he doesn't speak until the very end.
Right.
I don't know if.
And he's called the creature.
And I will say that I like the way that they approach that Frankenstein piece of it, in the sense that he basically has to acquire new body parts.
Yeah.
Over the course of the movie to kind of get back to normal.
Very zombie-like.
And they never really say it, but I assume he got a tongue at some point so he could speak, because like he's not speaking up until like, or if it was, I don't know exactly what happened to where he could suddenly talk at the very end. But.
So I interpreted it as either he's evolving-ish, or like there's a tanning bed, and the tanning bed is part of it's part of the rejuvenating process, the reanimation process for him. So every time he gets a new part, he has to go to the tanning bed to get electrocuted so that it works. So I interpreted it as every time he's getting electrocuted, he's getting better at using his body.
He's coming back to life.
More and more back to life, and that's how he's able to move and talk and all that.
I meant to ask you this when we were texting. So did you like the tanning bed better than the carnival ride in Totally Killer as a device for accomplishing crazy things?
I personally did.
Yeah.
Only because it felt real. Like, I think tanning beds are terrifying to me. I would never get in a tanning bed.
I mean, they seem like cancer machines.
Yeah,
essentially.
They
like,
are. Yes. I mean, I've gone tanning, but it was in a bed. It was different, and I would never get in something surrounded by electricity and lay down and close myself in.
An electrocution coffin, essentially.
Yes,
like,
it is. It is an electrocution coffin.
Yeah.
She gets electrocuted at one point. Even.
Yeah.
Like, that's why. So, and that's how, anyways, skipping ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked the tanning bed. It worked with like the late 80s theme. It worked with like the electricity thing, which is something I'm currently also working on in my play.
Okay.
That is a modern adaptation of Frankenstein. So you have to have electricity.
Is this Victor or something
yes,
else?
Yes.
Is this new to Victor or?
No, it's, I don't know, no, there was always somewhat electricity.
I remember,
but not like a lightning bolt.
Right.
But like science.
Yeah.
Science.
Like real science.
Real science, not a tanning bed.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of Poor Things, which I don't know if you've watched
I still have not seen. And honestly, your comment did make me want to see it.
Yeah, it definitely leans. Well, I don't know. It leans very heavily into like the pseudoscience piece of like reanimation and all that. But yeah, I didn't love that movie, which I know it might be kind of controversial because a lot of people love it. Like if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's 92%, something like that.
But I see people who like have no idea. They're very confused by it. So I don't know. People I have seen talk about it didn't really like it.
Yeah.
They like Emma's performance.
Yeah, she's great in it.
But
she's
not
great.
the movie.
Yeah, I didn't love I mean, the movie's basically Emma Stone having sex for 2.5 hours. Like, that's the movie. There's not, I mean, honestly, like, that is the bulk of the plot.
Okay.
I mean, there are layers to it more than that, but it just kind of becomes like, I don't know, like, it just felt more shallow than I think it's giving credit for. In my opinion.
Okay.
That's just my opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so Lisa Frankenstein.
Yes.
So I guess
Also, do you know who Lisa Frank is?
I do not.
Because that makes sense. So,
Okay.
in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
there was a style person brand thing called Lisa Frank.
Okay.
And it was like stickers and t-shirts and like all the things that like I bought when I was going back to school shopping in middle school.
Okay.
And so I have to wonder if Lisa Frankenstein is like a nod to Lisa Frank. I have no idea.
Is this a brand that still exists? Or
I doubt it. I haven't
Okay,
looked into
yeah.
it. But it was very popular when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
So
I do not, but yeah, so I guess, yeah.
yeah.
So I guess we can talk about first what we liked about the movie. I mentioned this, and I think a lot of people have observed this, like it felt very Edward Scissorhands like to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the darkly comedic take on it.
Yeah.
And I was actually sort of surprised by how dark it got, especially
It got very dark.
It is PG-13, which I was like super shocked by. Like I would not have called it as being
Yeah.
a PG-13 movie. It's
Yeah.
maybe the darkest PG-13 movie I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah, that I can agree with that.
Other than Temple of Doom, which actually created that as a rating.
Oh, okay. Well,
But-
yeah.
But anyway, I like that part of it. Did you like the Tim Burton nods that were clearly kind of worked
I
into this?
did, and I mean, I did like how dark it got because, quite honestly, like if anything that's going to be Frankenstein related is going to be dark. It's about dead bodies, like
Yeah.
that it should be, and so I appreciated the comedy that they were able to add to what is not a comedic story at all.
No. Yeah.
So, or at its core, like it is not a comedy. So I
Yeah.
appreciated how they were able to do that.
Well, I don't want to get into the things I don't like yet, but that's making me think of something. So okay,
Yeah.
so I like the dark comedy.
Yeah.
That part of it works. I like the directing too, which was Zelda Williams, and if I'm remembering correctly, we talked about this. I think it's
Yeah.
Robin Williams' daughter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And I think it's her debut as a director.
Okay.
And I thought it was great. I mean, I thought that part of it was handled well. It had a certain kind of lighthearted. It was weird. It was kind of a juxtaposition between being lighthearted and really kind of unsettling, like the the tone. But the style of it was handled well, I thought. So the makeup effects I thought were good.
Yeah.
Especially for whatever the Frankenstein, I guess
The
whatever
creature.
the creature.
The creature, that's what
Yeah.
his character name was. And I appreciated that he didn't look good.
Yeah.
Like, and because that I hate, he wouldn't. Like, he
Right.
looked
He
dead.
deteriorated and
He had
decayed.
body parts missing, and
Yeah.
so.
And I think, did they ever say, I remember it said on his tombstone what year he was supposed to have died.
I
Was
forget.
it like 1870 something maybe?
I don't remember.
I think he maybe would have been more decayed. I mean, obviously it would have been hard to make a movie with like a partial skeleton kind of
Right.
thing.
Oh,
at
I'm
that
sure
point.
he would have been,
Yeah.
more decayed.
Probably.
Probably, yes.
But I like that piece of it too. So before I'm starting to think of things I don't like, and I don't want to launch into that yet. But what is there anything else that you really liked about it that maybe I'm just not?
Well, I
touching
liked,
on?
because I know this is almost jumping into what you did. Because, okay, so you had mentioned that the main character, Lisa, is not super likable.
Yeah.
And I agree. Because I did really like some of the other characters. I really liked her sister.
I did too.
I thought
I
that
did too.
character was great, and I thought the actress was great. I also actually really do love the actress, Catherine Newton, who plays Lisa Frankenstein.
Okay.
She was in Freaky. She was in Supernatural. Like, I've seen her in a bunch of stuff, and I really like her. So
Yeah.
I thought a lot of the acting was really good, and most of the characters were interesting. I thought it played into some of the 80s stereotypes while also breaking them because it's 2024.
Right.
And we're not going to totally lean into it because we know we can and we understand diversity is important.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I thought some of the characters were, and I thought it was well acted overall. I mean, we kind of mentioned that, and even we talked about the dad who basically
Oh my God,
is the
yeah.
same dad,
Yes.
the same actor even from Stranger
Yes.
Things, who basically plays the same role in this.
It's probably like a prequel to
Yeah.
his, or actually it would be maybe in Stranger Things they get divorced and then she's the one who gets murdered. I don't know.
I do wonder if him or his agent or whoever got the script for this and was like, really? Because it literally is the same thing. And I'm sure they were like, fine, whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm
Because
sure that's
he's
why
already-
they went for him, and
Right,
he was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, I know I can do it, so let's go."
Yeah, and he's just sort of aloof, and
Yeah.
doesn't really care about what's going on. But I agree that at first I was like, okay, they're clearly making the sister character out to be somebody that you're not going to like because she was a cheerleader and like a totally, but she ended
Right.
up being like a good person.
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like it was,
And and Lisa even says that to her later on, like, you genuinely cared about me, like, and she
Yeah.
did, like, she genuinely. There was never a trick. It was never like she was trying to manipulate Lisa or anything. Like, there was some conflict we find out with some boys later, but you
Yeah.
know, as far as like her motives, it was not stereotypical. Like, oh, I hate my new sister and let's make her life miserable. Like,
yeah.
she wanted her to be happy. And unfortunately, and that's almost what makes it more tragic that Lisa kills the mom.
Right. Well, and I guess technically
the creature
killed
does. The mom.
Yeah, with a sewing machine, I think it was.
It was something like yeah. Because the daughter was so nice. Like I felt bad that her mom was dead.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, and the mom was a totally hateable character. I mean, like you know when
she was. I did not like her. I would not want her to be my mom. But she like wasn't worth dying.
No. I mean, well, yeah.
And to me, that's the comedy.
Right. That is the comedy.
Is that like. We've just killed somebody who, like, and even the other guy they killed that groped her at the party.
Right.
Not that I condone sexual assault in any way, but, like, could have been worse.
Yeah.
It was just a feelsies. Like, could have been worse, and now he's dead.
Yeah, so thinking about the things that I didn't like.
Yes.
You may or may not agree with some of these.
Okay.
So I think a lot of times with a story, and this doesn't necessarily have to happen, but usually there's a character arc, right, where somebody evolves in some manner.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know if Lisa changes really in this. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
that's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it just felt like she was sort of static the whole time.
And like, she is like changing, but not like internally. Like externally, how she is. Like she's more confident, or she's doing, but not in a way that's serving the story or her.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Yeah, so that part of it, and two, as you mentioned earlier, we talked about this texting. Like, I just didn't like her as a character.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I was, as an audience member, if I was supposed to like her, supposed to be rooting for her, or what. But I was like, you know what? If she gets killed, like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't care.
Well,
like,
and I don't know that you're supposed to root for her because she is killing people.
Right.
So, like, that's where I liked it. I get everything you're saying is true, but I didn't have as much of an issue with it because I think that's what makes it a comedy. Is that there's this character that I'm not really rooting for because of if we had rooted for her, that I would have gotten even darker in the end. We wouldn't have wanted her to die or anything like that, and then it wouldn't have been funny anymore.
Yeah.
It would have been sad.
So I guess my other big complaint, and this isn't really a complaint, because there are things that, again, about the structure of this that I enjoyed and found entertaining, but it almost felt like a pastiche of like, what this would make for a cool scene, and let's just throw it all together. And it's not like the most coherent or well-paced story ever because of that.
Yes.
It was like a sequence of like funny moments, and it just felt
especially towards the end when they get into like, oh, well, she wants to, like she's suddenly concerned that they're going to get caught.
Right.
Even though, like, there's not been a ton of suspicion, and so she's got to have sex.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to die a virgin. And she wants to have sex with the guy that's alive.
Right.
That she has a crush on. And so that's where I felt like, obviously the trailer portrays it more as a romance between the creature and Lisa Frankenstein. And it's not really. He obviously likes her, although you're not really sure why. Like, I don't...
Because I guess she was at his grave.
Yeah,
I
guess she was at his grave.
Yeah.
But then he's jealous, and then she wants to go. And so a lot of the stuff leading up to that, like all the stuff with the neck massager and all that, that is an example of like, what could we do here that's kind of just a little ridiculous, but doesn't really kind of move the story.
Yeah, I feel like this could have been, I don't know, it's put more time in the oven developing, I guess would be the word, just to make it a more complete
in the tanning
movie.
bed.
In the tanning bed, right, and gotten shot in the life a little more thoroughly.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't dislike it. I was just kind of meh on it. Like, I will say this, I'm glad we didn't pay to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really...
I probably would have been okay if we'd seen it in theaters. I liked it more than you did. But because of the things that, I don't know, that I enjoyed that kind of, I don't know, I didn't expect it to be a high quality film. And it's not bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I think my other hang up a little bit was, I think it almost felt like, in some ways, a pale imitation of something Tim Burton would have done. And so, like, I kind of in my head kept thinking, like, is this person just so in love with the way Tim Burton makes movies that we're kind of making a carbon copy of, like, a Edward Scissorhands, Frankenstein spinoff sort of thing? But I think it was probably, in the end, unique enough to be its own thing. Like,
I see enough in its choices to be its own thing. I feel like I've seen other stuff that tries to be more Tim Burton than this. And that's where part of me is like, how much of it is the story than the aesthetic feels like Tim Burton.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like it just falls into what seems to be kind of the popular trope right now, which is like, let's set it in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kind of a thing.
I mean, there's tons of Netflix movies like that, right?
Yeah.
Like Summer of '84
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
Totally Killer. I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think if you have a passing interest in this, it's probably worth watching.
Yeah.
But, like, for me, I was just sort of, like, middle of the road. But I think you enjoyed it more.
I did. I did
yeah.
enjoy it more. I am glad I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
really didn't plan to watch it. And then I was like, well, I will. And I liked it.
I will say this. If we're talking about Frankenstein offerings, I enjoyed this more than Poor Things. I mean, I think Poor Things is a more cerebral type of movie.
Yeah.
Visually, it's a little more interesting. But just character and plot-wise, I did not really get invested in that at all. I mean, I got invested in this more, even though I didn't like it that much. So
that's super interesting. Yeah, I have no desire to see Poor Things at all now.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's my mom.
Oh, really? I don't know. She was coming over here?
She mentioned she might.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome. Well, I think our next movie, because it should be streaming soon, is Winnie the Pooh Blood Money 2. Because we were going to see it in theaters. We ended up not being able to do that, but I think we can probably stream it and watch it. And then Bambi the Reckoning.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, I want to see
Yeah.
Bambi the Reckoning. Yeah. Oh, that looks amazingly horrible. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it'll be awesome and great at the same time. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we will check back in soon.